All right, can everybody hear me okay? Trying to do a couple different versions of this go around because over the pandemic, we did get some requests to try to do these via Zoom and in person. So this time we're trying to do them both. Hopefully everyone that's online can hear everything okay as well, and we'll get going. Then also with this, we're recording this as well, and we'll put it on our YouTube channel afterwards. So no reason to take notes. But first and foremost, it's great to see all of your beautiful faces in person again. It's been a long time. Thank you very much to Heartland Community College for providing this wonderful space. We have used this in the past for some of the exercises that we're going to go over a little bit later when it comes to some of the workforce development resource mapping that we mapped out. But they've got great facilities out here. So thanks a lot to Keith for hosting us. And we did plan this year to rotate our BN by the numbers to different facilities around the community. The first one, of course, is here. That I believe our next one, Becky, is at Wesleyan. Then we'll probably get back to ISU after that. So we'll bounce around the community. Again, great to see everyone. It's probably a little awkward. I don't know about you, but it is a little different not wearing pajama pants or shorts, with my suit top. As I was talking to Steve earlier, some of the benefits of Zoom, though, one night I found myself in a Heartland board meeting on GoToMeeting, but then I was also in a Bloomington Council meeting on Zoom. I had one in each ear, and when it was my turn to talk, I flipped the cameras. So there are some benefits to the online world, but it is great to be back in person. And as I was talking to Steve too, just being able to network and talk about some of the deals that are going on, because you guys really are the ones that are involved in a lot of the economic development on the ground floor. To get started, I want to thank our sponsors with Illinois State University, of course, Sierra, WGLT, Cumulus Radio, Serban, and then the Bowl Cities 92.9 and Magic 99.5. I'm Patrick Hoban. I'm your CEO of the Bloomington-Normal Economic Development Council. Hard to believe I've been here almost 2 years now. It's gone by really fast. I think COVID was somewhat of a time warp that made a little things blurry, but it's been a great experience, very welcoming community. And as all of us that are from Decatur that have come up here, to do our jobs, this is very fertile ground. We're very happy to be here. There's a lot going on, which we're going to go over. So for this one, I always add some kind of a theme with our presentations, and because May 4th is coming up and I am a Star Wars nerd, I went ahead and went with a Star Wars theme with this one. We're going to follow the same format where we talk about the impact, the overall numbers of our BN by the numbers, how we reacted in the first quarter, and then what we're going to do going forward for the next quarter. So right off the bat, impact-wise, yeah, it was rough, and I think you're starting to see that we are coming out of that, and these numbers are going to reflect us coming out of this pandemic. So we'll start with impact, looking at our employment, the retail sales that follow, and then the overall investment. And I always have to point out there's two separate numbers that we look at when we're focusing on employment. There is the local area unemployment statistics, and there's also the current employment statistics. LAUS, and they're also both focused on the MSA. A lot of times whenever you hear stories about Bloomington being ranked at a certain level, #1 happiest place in America, they're looking at the MSA data. So that is actually Bloomington, it's McLean County and DeWitt County combined. So all the numbers when you're talking about Bloomington is the MSA, this is what we're comparing. And this is a quick graphic that actually shows the inflow and outflow of people, where they work compared to where they live. So the arrow coming in, those are about 33,000 people in 2017. I think there's 2018 data available now. They don't live in this area, but they work here. The one that shows the circle going around, that 57,000 people, those are people that live here and work here. And then the other ones are people that live in our area, but work somewhere else. So you can see we've got a lot of inflow and outflow, and it's why regional economic development is so important to us, because we can actually track whether they're working or living in Peoria, Champaign. We know where they're going, what their industries are, what their educational attainment is. So it's very important that we collaborate to boost all of Central Illinois. So first, we're going to start off with the local area unemployment statistics. This is based off of the people that live in the area, regardless of where they work. So this could be somebody who works for the U of I, but they live here. So as everyone's probably expected, our unemployment number is up quite a bit, over double compared to what it was last year. You can see it was starting to trend down, right when March hit, right after that April, it shot up like crazy and it started improving. It's still improving, but not where we would like it to be because we all know that we do have jobs available. So we'll get into some of the things with workforce we're going to be doing a little bit later to improve that. Employment-wise, we're also below where we used to be before. And again, these are people that live here regardless of where they work. You can see how that roller coaster went last year. Again, we are improving though, so we're heading in the right direction. I think you're slowly going to see improvement as the summer goes on. And the labor force, of course, is a combination of both the unemployed and the employed combined. And we use that to figure out the unemployment rate, which is the one that everybody likes to talk about, the overall unemployment rate percentage-wise. And we're always at the bottom, almost always tied with Champaign. So Champaign's in the orange, we're in the blue. We're always below the state of Illinois. But again, you can see how it shot up and then it's slowly been dropping down. And the unemployment rate itself, I've never really been a fan of because it only accounts for the amount of people that are looking for work. It does not count for the people who have basically stopped looking for work as well. There's another number that we can look at for that. Now, what's really important for our organization is the current employment statistics. This records how many people are actually working in Bloomington-Normal, regardless of where they're at. So this is what we focus on when we're looking at investments and somebody creates 20 jobs. This is where we want to see the increase, that our businesses are doing well, creating more opportunities. So again, this is the amount of people that live and work here or live somewhere else and come into work. So our filled jobs are down as well compared to what they were last year, and these are not seasonally adjusted. But you can see again, followed the roller coaster, started going up, but we're still heading up in the right direction, but not quite where we were at last year. And the interesting part about this is if you start stacking on the jobs that are open, it's a whole different story. So we really got to do a better job of getting these jobs filled. If we look at the seasonally adjusted, that's what normally it starts flattening things out. And I did this last time because it didn't make any sense to me why we were below some of the other communities. But it was because like over the summertime, we're a college town, so there's a lot of the employment, especially in the retail and hospitality, that starts to drop off. But as you can see, it starts flattening off. We're still about even across the board, but we're still below where we need to be. The other one that we look at is, of course, if you're employed, where are you spending your money? So sales tax distribution wise, McLean County wide, it's good to see that we are actually up. It might be kind of hard to see, especially in the back, because we have this large classroom. But the gray bar is above for February spending above the last 2 years combined. So I mean, not combined, but you can see it trailing up. So it's nice to see that everybody is spending their dollars. And also comparing 2019 to 2020, there was a huge jump. It actually got better in July when things started opening back up. In the beginning, it just dropped because everyone was afraid, didn't know what they were going to do. As we started opening it back up in 2020, you can see that orange bar from May to July just started to skyrocket. And then it's been either close to or somewhat above what we were the year before. And then now in 2021 for February, we're above by quite a bit the last 2 years. So it's nice that people are spending again here locally. I assume that's going to continue as we slowly open back up. So again, message to everyone out there online and here is vote with your wallet and shop local. We like to see our roads fixed, not Peoria's or Champaign's or anywhere else. So try to spend your dollars here. Investment wise, this is where we're checking the overall commercial permits for all of McLean County. Last year we ended up hitting 172. This year you can see January has been very busy. This is not the residential side. I'm expecting a huge bump in residential, which we track those too, but we don't normally portray that here. But you can see that we're already at 66 for this year. So we're off to a good start. But even more impressively is the investment. Last year, actually, I think in 2019, our overall investment might have been $140 million. So we more than doubled that last year at $290 million. You can probably all take a guess on where most of that money's at. But it's still, again, we're already hitting this year off right with $61 million invested. And you can see the construction workers out there. It's great to see the investment going on. But this is what we like to track because over time, as we do deals and as we do projects and there are tax breaks given up, you want to see that return on investment. And this is the money that's coming directly back in from some of the projects that we've worked on. All right, so the numbers are looking pretty good overall, except for the unemployment side. So what did we do, the EDC and our partners during Q1, so the first 3 months? So the first thing, of course, last year, we created a strategic plan. So we looked at our strategic plan to figure out what we needed to do, getting from our current state to the future state. And we actually created 3 new committees on our EDC board. So we've got a real estate and development committee, really focused on leads. And actually Neil Finland's here, who leads that committee. We're trying to find out what areas of town we should focus on that have the most potential to get the real estate development community involved and find out, are they in growth mode? Are things easy for them? Or could we improve in certain areas? And if so, we want to be the ones that champion that to help the development process. When it comes to businesses, it's a matter of number one, Amber's main job is making sure that our current businesses are in growth mode. If they need to expand to a new site, which we're getting a lot of leads for that too, conversions, that's when we hand it off to Nick. The Nick's role is to find those new locations. That's why a lot of the realtors in the room, you have good communication with Nick. He'll let you know when we've got an RFP in from the state, a request for proposal. We're getting a lot of leads from them, and just making sure that we're matching up and really playing matchmaker between the businesses and our available sites to get them to grow. And then workforce is a big one that we'll get into a little bit later, but that's so important right now, as you're going to see. So solving it, what do we do with the plan? Well, publicly, we've got 15 items. Internally at our EDC, we have 20 initiatives that we're working on. So we're focusing right at the very top, and we're working our way down from project management all the way to eventually an entrepreneurship ecosystem. So we're going to go over some of the items that we've already started to touch on. Number one, happy to say, compared to last year, we have 30 projects in the pipeline. That's just from Q1, which to me is a little bit crazy. I think last year we might have had 10 to 20, but to have 30 inquiries right off the bat. And forgive me for some of these names. I mean, actually Project Gust, it's a wind farm. I mean, I'm gonna blame Nick for some of the cheesiness on these. That you could probably figure them out if you dig a little deep into what we're calling some of these things. But it's everything from manufacturing to distribution. But that Project Gust is one that the county board actually recently discussed. It's a $450 million wind farm on the southeast side of town. So they normally contact us first. We get them through the development process, find out if they qualify for any incentives, if they need land, if they need help, connections. We track all of that all the way through. And it's not every day that you're going to get a project that actually gets done in 3 months. So we had Contact that went out by the airport. That was one where a site selector contacted us, asked us a bunch of workforce questions. We got them lined up. 3 months later, they announced that they're coming here. Other projects, I've seen ones that have taken 12 years. I mean, I think the Inland Port in Decatur took 5 or 6 years. So you have to work these things for a long time. We've had some that have been on the books since I've been here, and we're still working on them. And COVID has honestly slowed them down because we've got a lot of interest with foreign direct investment from European companies who can't come back over to do their due diligence. So they're still waiting. We still check on them with the state to see, like, is Project Orange still interested? Yes, they are. They're just waiting to get a chance to come back. So again, we've got 30 of these things, most of them manufacturing, which I really like because those are the higher paying jobs, the higher multiplier. Also, we don't forget about the small companies too. We also administer the McLean County Recovery Loan Program, and we've done 19 of those. And happy to say that they are very diverse and spread across our entire county. We've got 47% that are women or minority owned. 42% are in Bloomington, 32 are rural, and 26% are in Normal. And so we started off with about $615,000 to loan out, and we've done $205,000. And then the county did a program for a hotel, and now we've got about 370 left over. So anyone that's out there that's in the finance industry, or a company that's still struggling, we do have dollars available, and it's a forgivable loan, which means if they invest that back into their business for something, it could be for PPE, it could be for real estate improvements. Some of the bars we're working with are doing patios to expand, for extra space. They basically come in, they apply for the loan, we take it to our CDC board for approval. After that, they send me the receipts, I check that they qualify, and they don't pay us back. So it's a pretty good program, and it's one that McLean County used to have for startup businesses, and they realized during the pandemic we needed to help out some of the companies that were here, so they converted it to this. And it's been very successful, and it's a lot of fun when Becky and I walk in with this huge Publishers Clearinghouse check and take it in and take our photos and stuff. So it's a good time, and they're very grateful for this program. Number 2 that we're doing is our business retention and expansion. And if anyone in here has not met with Amber in the back, I highly suggest that you set up a meeting because there's a lot of programs that we have that all of our larger companies, actually across America, they have whole tax and accounting departments that focus on these tax breaks and different programs. Our role is to make sure that every business is aware of all the federal, state, and local programs. So we manage a lot of those. So if we can set up a meeting with Amber, or if you know anyone else that's looking to grow or might be struggling, we need to get a hold of them before they move any further. Development and retention-wise, we did something very fun right at the beginning of the year in December. We normally would go to different shows. So I would travel to South Carolina. There's a big show in Vegas. We go out there and we talk about how great Bloomington-Normal is. Well, because of the pandemic, we couldn't get to all those conferences. So we went to a lot of our local manufacturers, Beer Nuts, Ferrero Chocolate, some local microbrews, and we put everything in a little care package. Then we mailed those out to all the development prospects and some business prospects as well, along with our demographic profile and a little letter letting them know everything wonderful going on in our area. And then the ability to sign up for a newsletter so they can stay in touch. But we got a lot of good feedback from some of the bigger developers. They thought it was a pretty good idea, and a lot of them are microbrew fans. And the great thing is a lot of this was donated to us as well. Business attraction wise, whenever we do go to South Carolina, we talk to these site selectors. Our goal is to try to figure out how can we bring them back into our community. Luckily, partnering with Mike O'Grady over at Corn Belt, he said, what if we host our own site selection conference right here in Bloomington-Normal? So this September, we're actually bringing in a lot of regional site selectors. We're going to wine them, dine them, show them the other area, and bring in other economic developers in the region so we can learn what their needs are, because each site selector has normally a specialty. Some are really good at distribution, others are good at cold storage or manufacturing. So we're going to bring probably 5 or 6 of them in to show off our community. We also sent out the fan packages to site selectors. I was recently put on the board of Elevate Illinois, which is a new marketing program. And it's a really cool one because if you go to the bigger shows like Select USA, where we're dealing with foreign direct investors, Chicago is highly represented, but there's not a lot for the rest of downstate to tell the story. So we created this board, or we didn't create it, but I'm a part of it. That's called Elevate Illinois. And our job is to tell the rest of the story of all the wonderful things happening in Illinois. So it's a big marketing campaign so we can start telling our story. The other thing that we're working on is a regional economic development marketing plan. A lot of times we find ourselves at the same show and Peoria is selling Peoria and I'm selling Bloomington-Normal. But when site selectors come in, they really need to know all of Central Illinois, because the inflow and outflow I discussed earlier, when they're looking at talent, they realize that, well, Rivian, you can capture people from Peoria. So we need to have our own marketing packages of all of Central Illinois to represent everything that we have to offer instead of being one at a time. So the goal is to market regionally and then sell locally. So we're going to be working on that together. And we also recently relaunched bnbiz.org. So we flipped that over to a new platform so it's easier to update. And we're also going to be doing a lot of content marketing, again, telling our story, because we had a lot of good wins around here and everybody needs to see what's happening in Bloomington-Normal. The big one, which has been spending a lot of time this first quarter, is a standardized incentive. We are so close to this, I can taste it. It's getting everyone to agree. In theory, it makes a lot of sense. When it comes to the fine tune, I'm down with the attorneys, making sure everybody's lined up with what's going to work. We're very, very close to this. I was hoping we were going to get it on Monday's agenda for Bloomington. Unfortunately, there's still a couple items we need to clear up. So we're hoping within the next month, it's going to start with our 5 entity partners, which is the city of Bloomington, town of Normal, McLean County, Ford County, and Gibson City. Once they're all approved, we take it to the state. Once the state's like, all right, this looks good, then we go partner with Heartland Community Colleges, our school districts, and then anyone else that wants to participate in this. And then from there, we're going to have finally a standardized package that says, if you invest a certain amount of money and create a certain amount of job, here's your deal. It's no more one special package for this company, another special package for that company. Everyone is using the same coupon. The way it is right now, I've got some coupons. I might say I could give you this, but I got to go talk to a lot of people and everyone's got to approve it. If we get this done once, everyone's got them the same deal. So it'll be really good for all of us to market our area. We also completed One Voice this year. Not quite the same doing it online, but we were effective. We met with a lot of people. It'll be nice to get out there in person. But the 3 projects we took was Hamilton Road, getting that completed, ISU's Innovation Hub, which will be really good for entrepreneurship going forward. And then also our Bloomington-Normal Water Reclamation District has got a lot of opportunities to improve some of the sewer systems and storm sewer systems here. Because if you don't have infrastructure, the incentives don't matter. I mean, some of the land doesn't matter. If you can't provide the basic infrastructure, you're not doing any deal. So we have to start, and I know it as something that we joked about, it's not attractive because a lot of people don't see it, but without it, yeah, you're not doing any development. So that's one we were very happy to get on there and partner with them. And also Connect Transit, of course, announced their site, which was one of last year's projects, who got $8.5 million. Overall, I think we're up to about $50 million we brought back from that trip. So that return on investment from traveling out there every year has been wonderful. The next one that's on here is BN STEM, and this is a really big one when it comes to workforce readiness. BN STEM is now working with, of course, Keith over at Heartland Community College. We're focusing on heat, what's called the Heat Academy. We had some roundtables that focus on healthcare, engineering, agriculture, and technology. And the goal with heat is really, and the BN STEM side, is the readiness. It's getting the students whether that's K all the way through 12, interested in what we've got in our own backyard. It's almost like career exploration, which when I came to town, I asked everybody out in the workforce, it was highly focused on this is what the kids need to know is here, and you have to have that. We're going to go over some other elements that we're putting together soon. One of them, workforce attraction. I mean, right now, probably look around this room, we go talk to businesses and we ask them what the #1 issue is, and it's like we're getting running short on workers. So it's one of those where we got to start recruiting people in. We do have ISU marketing students. We got 50 of them doing a study for us to try to figure out what's it going to take to get you guys embedded in our community instead of going back to your hometowns. It's been a pretty interesting result so far. We've got, I want to say 10 teams, so I've heard from half of them. Next week, I'm hearing from the other half. We're going to package all their studies together into one, and we'll push that out. It'd be interesting, you know, what I would think if I was their age again on what I'm looking forward to compared to me now being a family man. Totally night and day. But if we want to keep that generation around, and I can show the gap as people start to get out of college, there is a little bit of a dip in our demographics. Wonderful place to raise a family. But if we want to keep them around, there's some things we can do in our community to improve, and we're going to kind of take their lead. Another one that we've got going next week is being presented. We've got a class at the University of Notre Dame, go Irish. Business analytics course is working on an attraction campaign for us to figure out what it would take to bring more people in. So we're tapping into both those resources. And then we also worked on a workforce resource map, which I mentioned earlier that we hosted right here. And we'll go over that one a little bit later. Also, we are working with a consultant out of Indianapolis that really focuses on target market campaign to find qualified leads for some of the businesses that we have here. And they originally contacted us because they said, hey, you know, you're getting a lot of top rankings. You'd be a really good community for remote workers. And I said, you know what, you're right. But I'm really afraid that we're going to hire so many remote workers and they're going to take up our housing stock that we're not going to fill all the jobs that we have. So I'd rather focus on getting people to fill the jobs that we have than go after the remote workers. We also relaunched BNAdvantage.com. Originally, BNAdvantage.com was a website that was really about the economic development strategic plan. We took that over, we made our own economic development strategic plan. Now BNAdvantage.com is a website that sells the romance of Bloomington-Normal. So if you've got anyone new to town, anyone interested in coming to town, this is where you go to find, here's your restaurant guide, here's your shopping guide, here's your housing guide. It's all the things that we have to offer. So it's the other side, because we can sell business all day. But if that person might say, I might be able to make money here, but you know, my spouse is not interested in the area because you don't have a Trader Joe's, which is literally what my wife told me. But I said, no, but we've got some other wonderful grocery stores. So I took her to Fresh Time and she's very happy now. So it's telling that other side of the story, because mathematically it makes a lot of sense business-wise, but without the quality of life, quality of place, we're going to struggle. So we relaunched this, and it's going to turn into a huge content marketing campaign for our community. Another one that we did a soft launch on, some of you might have got an email for this, is called BN Forward. And BN Forward is a grant matching system. Whenever COVID hit, we were grateful to have our partnerships with our CVB and our Chamber of Commerce as we tried to track down all the programs, because there's so many programs. BN Forward, or the Forward campaign, approached us and said, hey, we've got a way where we can basically log all of your businesses, and whenever a new grant program or a tax break comes out, we know who to match up with who, and we can tell them automatically to say, hey, you've already filled this out, you already qualify for this. And to me, in the beginning of the recovery loan process, that would have been a godsend, because I had so many phone calls, people didn't understand what they qualified for. I'm sure anyone in the finance industry who had any questions, a zillion phone calls you got for PPP or anything else, like it was hard to track all the programs. And knowing that right now, I think the president's got, is it close to 1.9 trillion or 2 trillion are going to launch in infrastructure? There's a lot more programs coming out. So we want to make sure that we've got people in this system, so when we do create a new program, or there are new programs from the state, we can automatically send it to them and say, hey, you already qualify for this based off of what your industry is. Because otherwise we see something and then we're texting people, calling people. This will be a much more efficient way to get the word out on what's coming. Another one that's fun, that was a very creative economic development tactic, is called economic gardening. And the concept of that is we can work with a local company who's got a ton of potential, but they might need advice with strategic planning, or maybe they're not so good with finance. We've got one that's actually underway that's working on Project Buck for us, who's got a ton of potential for a big manufacturing operation, but they did not know how to structure and ask to a community to request incentives. In order to do this, it's some people in manufacturing are really good at making their widget, but they're not so good on structuring the development side of things. So we can hire consultants to come in and actually get them through that process to take them to the next level. And right now, our criteria for that is anyone that can create about 25 jobs or $250,000 of investment. So if anyone out there is in the consulting field, we want to make sure that you're in our inventory because we're playing matchmaker with this too. Our board has set aside a certain amount of dollars to help out so many companies per year go to the next level. So as Amber's out and about and meeting with companies and they're saying, oh, I've got this idea, it could turn into something, we might be able to say, well, if you've got enough potential, we'll hire a consultant to get you to that next level and get you to expand internally. So we've got one underway and hopefully it's going to be announced pretty soon because I think it's going to be a really good project, not just for manufacturing, but also quality of life. Another one we're waiting on is our Rural Development Fellowship, and this is with Illinois State University. We've got one of their, they call it ACEDs, Applied Community and Economic Development Fellows. We did interviews with 2 of them, and the idea is to get more out in the rural communities because the smaller mayors that are out there, they've got a ton of land, a ton of potential, some small businesses that need help too. And right now we're a staff of 4. So we're hoping that if we can get one of these interns, it's not only coming from the Stevenson Center of Community and Economic Development, so it makes sense that they would work for the EDC to learn how we do economic development, but it's a way to extend our outreach. The only problem right now is there were more companies that applied for the interns than there's actually interns available. So we're still waiting to see if we're going to get one or not. If not, we'll probably open it up to other universities. Another one that we're working with is our virtual tours. So the idea of the virtual tour is to find some of our sites here in town to do 3D models on or drone footage on, because we've got some pretty big sites available that we think should probably be highlighted more than others. It's almost like a site showcase. So any realtors that are out there that have big properties with a lot of potential, those are the ones we want to start with. And we have dollars set aside again to go out and really pump these. The last 13 through 15, right now, like I came to town and we are BN. It's like, great, BN what? Like there's got to be some kind of a next tagline or a vision or something. And this is something that we do have at the bottom, but as we start checking these other ones off, it's going to rise to the top. If we've got dollars set aside, it might be time to hire someone to come in to lead the whole community to figure out what's the community vision. Because the strategic plan that we put together is only for about 1.5 years. It's like, here's what I think that we can focus on right now that's really going to help out our community. But at some point, we need a community vision. We need another tagline. Because right now, I will customize my message based off of who I'm talking to. But there isn't, like, we're not the Big Easy, we're not the Second City. It's like we don't have whatever that is, and we need to get to that. So eventually, we're going to get to a community vision. The other one some of you have probably heard of is the Smart City or Smart Community Program. It's called the Bloomington-Normal Innovation Alliance, and that's something that we are partnering on. And another reason to have the strategic plan is because it gave us an opportunity that if there was something that wasn't in the plan, we could say no. I was like, there's a lot that has to do with economic development, and we can do a lot to help a lot of people. But if it's not in this plan, it's our opportunity to say, sorry, that's not a priority this year. These are what we're working on. And last but not least is establishing a community framework for startup companies. I see a ton of potential for startups, especially with trailing spouses around here. There's a lot of angel investors that I've ran into just randomly. They always say, hey, if you've got an opportunity for a business that needs some help, I'd love to invest. So we're slowly building that network out. We've got a great SBDC, Illinois Wesleyan, that can help you go ask for financing. But after that's set up, where do you go? So we're still waiting on ISU with the Innovation Hub. We need an incubator. We need an accelerator. There's other things. There's shared spaces scattered around town too. But one overall framework for startups. Because if somebody comes to me now and I said, hey, I make this awesome thing. I have no idea how to sell it, no idea how to take it to market. I'm going to send them to the SBDC. Then after that, we don't know, because most of them are not ready to hire a realtor to go find a big space. They're still out of their garage. But if we could have something in between, some kind of a framework, I think we could really pump up our entrepreneurship. And right now we're kind of looking at Peoria because they've got a pretty good system up there. We might work with some consultants to come in to get us there too. And again, this is at the bottom. It's something I know that we need, but right now workforce is number one for us. All right, adapt. So what are we going to do going forward? I put all these together. So reflect, assess, and solve when it comes to, looking at what all we've done in the first quarter, also looking at what we can do going forward. And also, I was telling Steve earlier, it was kind of fun. I gave a mini presentation of this to IMA, and they had said, wow, that's a really ambitious goal you guys have got for next quarter. And I was like, no, that's what we did first quarter. Like, here's next quarter. So this is what we're going into. So yeah, as it's on the table now, but there's about $2 trillion lined up. And in my mind, we've either already paid for that or we're going to pay for that, and we need to bring some dollars back, just like with One Voice. So our board decided that we're going to go ahead and hire a grant writer, maybe a couple of grant writers. So if you guys know any good grant writers, let us know, because my fear is we're going to leave money on the table. They're going to, when this gets announced, they're going to start rolling out programs. I want to make sure that we're bringing as much of that as possible back home, the same thing we do with One Voice. So if you guys know any projects for businesses, we're going to start lining up once we hear what's in this bill with different projects we have here. Then I want to get a grant writer to bring that back, because we've got a great lobbyist that's out in DC, and they're saying, hey, check out this program, check out this program. And I'm like, this is awesome, but I do not have the time or the staff to fill this out. So luckily the board approved getting some grant writers. So I'd appreciate your help if you guys know any, especially local, that can help us out with that. The next one is the workforce development system. Our goal is to take our current state and get it to the future state. And so with that, I'm going to jump into a great system that we used after we met here in person. Luckily, we found another thing online. If you guys haven't used it yet, it's called Miro. So it's a way to do design thinking and collaboration. Like normally you put up the big paper with your sticky notes and everyone would draw on it. You can do the same thing with Miro online. So it's a great way to collaborate during these tough times. I was also very lucky to attend, thanks to Peter Kaufman over at ISU. ISU had hired a design thinking expert out of Florida to come up and teach them design thinking, all the teachers. I said, hey, Peter, I know we're working on this marketing thing. Is there any way I can, audit this class and sit in with you? And so he snuck me in. So luckily I got to implement some of the things that we learned. But with the system, it's really focusing and defining the problem. A lot of times we see that there's a problem and we just run with it and start throwing up all the ideas. This was a way to really understand the problem, observe what's already being done, and then define what we need to do going forward. Then after you define the problem, then you jump over into the solution space, where you go through the ideation process, prototypes on what could work, and then test to see if it actually is working. So with this, when I came to town, I literally asked everybody, who's doing your workforce? And they was like, oh, the Chamber's got this great program going on. I was like, cool, tell me all about it. And they really told me about everything that's happening with what was Heat Academy, B and STEM, all the readiness stuff. Like, that's fantastic. And I was like, who's got your money? And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, the feds have money via WIOA in every single community that trickles down through the state. And I know there's 3 programs, so I used to sit on the board. And so eventually I ended up finding CareerLink, and there they were in this residential neighborhood. All 3 programs were fully funded. And I was like, okay, well, why are you fully funded? Like, where is anybody using this? And they're like, no, it's totally underutilized. I'm like, okay, well, we need to really bump up the marketing side of things. So we knew that there were people all along this pipeline from the talent side to the business side, and we're all interacting. So we all met out here at Hartley Community College, and everyone wrote down their individual map. So we've got a stack of these maps. Like, who's your customer? Like the chamber and the EDC, we're down here with businesses. So we talk to them all day, and they're saying, I need welders, I need nurses like crazy. I'll place an order right now. Then we go over and talk to United Way and K through 12. And then you've got Hartley Community College, which is across the entire spectrum. They've got a whole team that are on both sides. Same with ISU and Wesleyan. We're like, okay, well, what's everybody doing? So then we said, all right, let's try to map this out. I'm a gamer, so I love board games. So I created this whole system here, but it starts down here with K through 8. So the part with the K through 8 was the observation side, and that's where we mapped out everything that's going on in the readiness. So if you think about workforce readiness, that's getting our students interested in all the different programs. So we've got multiple programs available there. And then we said, okay, well, back in the day, I did go to ISU for 1 year, had way too much fun. So I came back and I was a community college kid. I did not know that there were programs for the community college kids to get you to the next level. So at that time, we had everyone at Heartland map out all their programs. And it's like, holy cow, we've got a ton of programs when it comes for the community college kids. Awesome. Well, what if they want to go to ISU or Wesleyan? There's other ones that get you there. So this is our upskilling quad. And it's everything that connects your higher education, the high schools, to each individual sector. And we broke the sectors down into 3, which is nice and neat. It's clean for us, but you've got your goods producing, so the people that make things. You have got your trade, transportation, and retail, so the people that sell and ship those things. And then the big one in our community, thanks to some of our insurance providers and educators, is all the other services. And we've got demographics and breakdown for days on each one of these, whether it's the amount of people that are employed there, the age, the wages, the educational attainment, the race, the sex. I mean, it's amazing how far you can dive into this data. But what we wanted to know is what programs are available to get this Heartland Community College kid over here. Or maybe they're in the manufacturing space, but they want to get into insurance. Or maybe they've got their mindset on being a doctor. There's programs and pathways all across this quad. So our idea was to map out every single program that all of us offer and figure out who are the guides on this quad to get people back and forth. Because a lot of times, especially with ISU and Wesleyan, they're going right out the back. They're just skipping it all and they're going home. And so that's why we're really relying on our Chamber of Commerce on the retention side. So that's where we got to keep the people here. That's why we really wanted to bump up BNAdvantage.com because if you don't settle down, then the grass always looks greener on the other side. So you're going to Chicago or a major metro or somewhere else. And it's also getting to the point though where we've got to do attraction. The attraction game, we've got to get people to come in and fill some of these positions. And we're working on a marketing plan that's going to target different segments based off of what the industry is. But we're looking at really the rural community. So if you've got the students here at Heartland that are from a smaller town, I want to target them and send them a postcard in the mail, the same that my daughter got by all the universities trying to recruit her to say, you know, you should be in Bloomington-Normal. Look at our quality of life. Look at our quality of place. The people that I'm coming down from Tinley Park. The house that I just bought literally cost the same amount as a small townhome that I had up there. And I'm showing the people up there and they're like, that can't be real. No, that's Central Illinois living. Your dollar goes a lot further here. So it's trying to show the difference between the cost of living index in Chicago compared to here is how we want to woo people. We want to bring them in. We've also had concepts of doing other job fairs in other communities because they've done it here. And so we want to go to another town and be able to say, hey, we've got all these jobs and we're here to take your talent. I've told everyone in Central Illinois, I'm not going to come after your business. I'm going to go take all their talent. Anyone that I know, I would ask all of you, if you know somewhere that lives somewhere else in Central Illinois, heck, anywhere, bring them here, show it off. Like I said, I went to ISU for 1 year. So I have my fraternity brothers down every now and again. Uptown did not look like Uptown back in '97. So trying to see what we've got going on now compared to back then, now that we're settled down and older, they're like, I can definitely move my family here. So I want to start hosting events where we've got people here, we get them in and almost do it like a timeshare sale. And we want to get them hooked on the opportunities because we've got some great opportunities business-wise and great places to live. So that's how we're going to do our retention and attraction side. Even our workforce committee had the idea of partnering with Connect Transit and starting to do familiarization tours. So we call them FAM tours, and that's something that we do with businesses. We bring them in town, we take them to golf courses, we take them to our restaurants, we let them know what the sites are, how they can do business here. And it's like, well, why not throw them all on a bus for all this talent and then do the same thing? Because a lot of times with these students, they don't even know what's in their own backyard. So it's training the students we have, but doing the same thing with other prospective clients. So after that, we took all these programs and lined them up down here so we know all the different areas. So we've got all of our organizations that are involved, all the initiatives that are involved, whether it's readiness, upskilling, retention, or attraction. And the idea now is creating one-pagers on all of these. So we'll have one toolbox that anytime we go meet with somebody and they're saying, I've got a opportunity to train some of my people, well, guess what? There's a program for that. Or guess what? Heartland Community College can literally design a program for you. And we want to start making those connections with the tools in this toolbox. So we've got other things that we need to do following up on this, but one of them was getting everything done and uploaded onto BNAdvantage.com. That's where you're going to see a lot of this. There could be opportunities for highlighting individual companies, job opportunities via video, using our podcast. But the whole time, it's really just to sell what we already have. But the goal of this was to map it out. And going forward is to say, all right, what are we missing? And right now, it's the entire marketing plan for this section. Upskilling it's doing wonderful. Heartland's got a great partnership with CareerLink, got wonderful things happening in the pipeline. Our HEAT Academy is doing really well in the readiness. This is where we need improvement. So just like we did in Economic Development Strategic Plan, we knew where we're at, we knew where we wanted to go. We're gonna do the same thing, hopefully by the end of the year, and have a workforce strategic plan. All right. The next one, it kind of follows off of some of what I just said, and that is, I mean, all these great rankings that we're getting right now. We were just recently ranked a couple of years ago, the best market for first-time home buyers. We were ranked one of the happiest places in America. We need to get that out. So we want to have a whole campaign done on the marketing side, which is again why we did revamp BNAdvantage.com to do that. But having targeted ads, whether that's via LinkedIn or that's via Facebook, using social media, but then also I wouldn't mind throwing some billboards up on some crazy areas. Like I've tried to drive home from Soldier Field and it is a nightmare. You're literally there for 2 hours. I mean, how would you like your commute to be 15 minutes? It's literally what it is. Why don't we have something on the side of a bus? Like, sick of waiting on this train? You can get to work and make this much money in Bloomington-Normal right now. Here's a link. So something like that, mixing the new age with traditional billboards and marketing and brochures, I think combined, we're gonna have a pretty good campaign. So how can you help? One, I know a lot of you are in the development community. I don't want to see any project go through that could have got some kind of benefit from us, because there's a lot of programs out there, whether it's state, locally, federally. I mean, just get a hold of Becky. She's doing a great job administering our enterprise zone. If you want to know what that is, on bnbiz.org, you can see the whole zone. If there is a site that's in there, we want to make sure they're taking advantage of those incentive programs. Also, like I said earlier, if you have not met with Amber, please schedule a BRE visit with Amber. Learn about all of our tools, because we need you guys to champion the same tools we've already got set up, and make sure everybody knows. And then if you actually have a project itself, I know a lot of the realtors in the room already work with Nick. Like I said, we've got 30 that have come through so far. We got another one today from one of our other marketing groups, and I get to hand those off to Nick, and he gets to do all the research with you guys to find out what sites are available, sometimes what the soil samples are, what the crime rates are. It's crazy what some of these guys want to know to do a deal, but that's his full-time gig on his property manager or project manager. And then also, if anyone wants to talk rest of strategy, workforce, entrepreneurship, anything, I'm always available for beverages. Brad's actually hit me up on that. So I mean, if you don't imbibe, I'm always up for coffee too. So anytime you guys want to talk shop on what we're working on, how you can get involved, we got a lot of opportunity and a lot of work to do. But this is what we've done in Q1. I'm looking forward to see what we're doing in Q2. And by the end of the year, like I said, we set up 20 different items in-house, and my goal is to crush them all. And we're just going to check them off and keep going. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. A lot of information. Yes, sure.
Workforce obviously is a hot topic right now, and I'm not here to speak for my customers, but and they certainly didn't like me to. But I will say that I probably had 15 calls in the last 3 weeks. I know you got some. You in some cases, but when I look at some of the jobs, more entry level or the next level of manufacturing level, my customers don't have $2.2 billion to go attracting entry level jobs from St. Louis or Chicago or whatever.
Right.
So that's my concern. I mean, these jobs still have to be filled.
Mm-hmm.
They're not engineers, they're not split math, but they still got to get done. And, so I know I said it on the, or at least watched a recording of the manufacturing roundtable you spoke of earlier.
Yes. Yes.
And I know you talked a little bit more about, how do we get those kind of workers? And, when I'm sort of saying this in a joking manner, but when I heard that Rivian bought the 300 acres, I thought, well, that's got to be a treasure farm, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, the news that's watching can't hear you right now, so they're not going to publish that.
But what I'm saying is, we got to have some more workers to do these jobs, and there's a whole other subset of jobs that aren't even listed on anything that's contract level jobs, like cleaning the plant.
Yes.
And all those jobs, they're not showing up on the figures I see. So.
Yeah, it's not. So whenever we're looking at the segmentation of who we're going to target, it's not just the engineers and the doctors and the nurses. I'm literally serious about going to small towns and saying we've got an opportunity to move to the big city, because we do have these jobs. We do have affordable living. I think we have to have a well-rounded campaign. It can't just be for the top tier. Like, we need those, but we're well aware of the openings.
Do you think the 15, do you lure a $15 an hour person to this town?
If you look at the inflow and outflow, yes. You have seen people drive in the past. It's a different time now with some of the unemployment benefits that are available currently. But yes, in the past, people have traveled between communities for these roles. And it's not just about the $15 an hour anymore, because if you start looking at the quality of place when it goes to going to work, some of our facilities are phenomenal, and the culture is different, and that will attract people as well. Or just the upward mobility once you get in there. And that's something that we offer that some other communities do not. So I think that's all part of the message that we need to get to these potential workers in other towns. Like I said, I'm not going to go after your business, but I'm going to take your talent. And I know that there's talent available in other communities, and we need to pull them in however we can. Anybody else checking online? Nobody. All right, with that, I guess I will stop the recording and adjourn, but thanks everybody for joining us in person. Like I said, anyone wants to talk shop, I'm open anytime. Get a hold of me afterwards, and if you have not met with Amber and Nick, please follow up. Got a lot of opportunities, want to make sure you guys have the same tools that we have. So thanks for everyone coming in person.